This is how we start our sessions now, with racing stripes. Okay. Okay, so what we're going to be talking about today is how to discern between the thoughts we should and shouldn't be thinking, like how to discern what thoughts are beneficial and what beliefs are beneficial. Because a lot of times we suffer because we lack that discernment and we indulge in thoughts that we shouldn't be indulging in, and it takes us away from what we want in life. So it's like this. If you've ever been to a bar or a nightclub and you've seen that one creepy guy who sneaks up behind dancing girls if they've had too much to drink and they're not paying attention and just like attaches themselves, and then it's like, and then there's always like a rescuer friend that has to like peel them away, like, no, don't dance with that guy. And then the one girl's like, oh, it feels good, leave me alone, I'm having fun. It's like, no, he's bad news, right? So a lot of times we're dancing with thoughts that are bad news, thoughts that will ultimately lead to bad outcomes. Okay. And we need to be able to discern and peel them off. All right. And we also need to be able to spot each other out there, because a lot of times we think thoughts that we shouldn't be thinking because it's going to take us in the opposite direction of what we really want in life. Now, we're not responsible for the thoughts that come to us. Crazy thoughts come into our heads all the time. Your brain is just like a radio and it's just picking up thoughts that are in the universe and stuff. And it's not necessarily a reflection of you and who you are. But we are responsible for deciding and judging which thoughts we will invite in to sit down and have tea with. You know, like, right, we want to know which thoughts to shut the door on and which thoughts we should engage with, right?
Which I feel like is important, because a lot of us are like trying to like block this, like, not a lot of us, I shouldn't say a lot, but I know with myself, I'm like, oh, I shouldn't be having those thoughts. So sometimes we think that way, as opposed to just saying, okay, like, this is what I'm receiving, how much time am I going to give it, kind of thing.
Yeah. So we need to wake up and pay attention to this dynamic, because this is really where true victories in life happen, because our thoughts become our actions, become our experiences, become our habits, becomes our character, becomes our destiny. But it all begins at the causal level of thought. So choose your thoughts wisely, because your thoughts become your destiny. So now let's just go with some examples. Let's just take an example through this. We're going to go through the dance floor creeper process. This is how you peel off a thought that we shouldn't be dancing with. So we want to kind of think about, you know, what's something you might tell yourself that makes you feel lousy, that makes you feel discouraged, agitated, fearful, stressed out, whatever. We want to take all of these things, and you want to just pay attention to it, maybe even for a week, and write them down. And there'll be a lot of different ones here. Somebody might say, oh, I'm behind in life.
Right.
And it might be like, well, is that a creeper or not? Let's see. Is it a good idea to be telling yourself you're behind in life? You know, somebody might say, you know, all good things come to an end. Okay, maybe on some level that's true, but that's a small disempowering part of the sum total of all truth. And if you focus on that slice of the pie, it's just going to bring you down, right?
Right.
Sometimes people will say, I'll never have enough money, or I'm not doing enough to help other people, or, you know, I need to stay in touch with everybody. So they keep all their ex-boyfriends in close quarters and close contacts, and they don't let go of anyone in life and move on, right? So there's all these different types of thoughts we might tell ourselves. Now, of any of those, do you have any that you think we should take through this process? It can be a thought that, you know, a friend has thought of, or that you've heard people say, and just a good one to kind of practice through with. Anything resonate with you that you want to just see what'll happen with?
I think the thought I'm not doing enough is a really important one.
Yeah.
What do you think, Violet?
This
is that Violet?
No, this is
Peaches.
Fuzzy brown tail, yeah. So that's Peaches right there, stuffing her cheeks.
I love it.
Hey, Peaches. So, okay. So I'm not doing enough.
Yes.
Okay. Now, why? Let's see if this is an icky creeper. The first question we want to ask: why is it a bad idea to dance with this thought? How might it create troubles and difficulties to keep thinking this way? What could it cost over a lifetime to think this way. What are your thoughts?
I would say it is a bad idea because I feel like it's kind of attaching yourself to it's attaching your self-worth or meaning to like items or things that you're doing, like the number of things you're doing as opposed to like what you're doing.
Yeah. So it's a bad idea because it's a very fixed mindset. It focuses on achievement and accomplishment rather than potential. And there are inescapable stages of development for all of us. So we shouldn't judge ourselves in the moment because we are all masterpieces, and you wouldn't judge a masterpiece painting after the first few strokes, right?
Right.
So it's almost like an unfair way of looking at things. Also, how about this? Is it ever enough even when it's enough? Or can we always just say that at any time in life?
There's
Right?
always more to add, you know?
Yeah. So it's a thought that probably will never be satisfied, just like an itch
That's
that
true.
can't be scratched. And might it eventually, because it's just so intense, sometimes people might tell themselves something like that and they think this is good, this will push me and motivate me. But when it's too intense, after a while, it does the opposite. We start to develop feelings of helplessness and hopelessness, and we start to feel discouraged. Oh, I'm never able to do enough. No matter what I do, it's just never enough. And then that can lead to negative self-judgment. It's because I'm not good enough and I'm not worthy and I don't even deserve to be loved anymore. Like if you go down the river of that thought of telling yourself you never do enough, it leads to these other creepers that are down the river, right? It's kind of like you dance with this creeper and then all of his creeper friends are coming around, you know? And then it's just like, oh no, we got ourselves a mess now.
More to deal with.
Peel them all off. Like this is just becoming a nightmare. All of his friends are worse. This is just a horrible group of people at the dance floor, right? We don't want this.
Right.
So intelligent people do something called a cost benefit analysis. If we do a cost benefit analysis of telling ourselves that I'm not doing enough, what's the cost? What's the benefit? What do you think?
Well, like you said, the cost could be like further like complications or difficulties in terms of like peeling off those dancers and so forth if you're going to go down the road of not feeling good enough in every area of your life.
Yeah.
But the benefit I would say is that like this thought might be able to kind of trigger you to analyze maybe what you're doing and how it's contributing to your like overall goal, you know, like having this kind of opposite spectrum. Like, am I doing enough? Okay, well, what am I currently doing? And is there like ways for me to kind of like filter out what actions I'm like what I'm doing and what I want to contribute to, you know, like in terms of the bigger picture.
So it can potentially be a motivational fuel.
Right.
Right. Now, and that's important to acknowledge. It's motivational fuel, but it is expensive to us. Well, I got a wasp.
Oh, yikes.
All right, wasp, I love you and everything, but you're getting too much attention. That's it. Okay. So yeah, so it is a motivational fuel. However, it's not the only motivational fuel. This one's kind of fear-based.
Okay.
Fear of I'm not doing enough. We could go with
I see it.
Are you trying to tickle my ear? This was. All right, we could go with desire as a motivational drive by just thinking of, how much more rewards there are in future when I apply myself. Or we could go into, love as a motivational drive that I live to give. And I've given so much already and I'm not done yet. Right? Like, and these ones could also be motivators. Right? So I look at fear like a cheap motivational fuel. It can move you forward, but you're going to get vehicle problems up the road because it burns out your nervous system when you're using fear all the time. So here's another question. When we say I'm not doing enough, why exactly do you believe that to be true? And is it necessarily the absolute truth?
I feel like it's kind of subjective. Like maybe you're basing it off of what someone else told you.
Yeah.
Right. for the most part, or maybe based on what everyone else is doing, or here, social media is a really big influence in that sense, where we constantly see, the life of others based on what they want us to see. And so I think it's really easy to compare that way.
Exactly. So it's a story we're telling ourselves. It's not the
Right.
undeniable truth. We're doing all we can do in the moment, right? So it's like a dance floor creeper can talk a good game, but it's not really truthful,
Right.
right?
Especially with vodka and tequila in the mix.
Yeah. It might be like, oh yeah, I'm so successful, and they live in their parents' basement. They spend all their money on clothes, so they look the part, right? It's kind of,
Right.
I've heard stories like that. So it's kind of like that's how
Right.
some of these stories are. It's not necessarily true even. Like, how do we define enough? It's actually like it's
Right.
it's too vague and ambiguous to ever be satisfied. So that disempowers us, because now it creates a demand that can never be completely satisfied. When is it ever enough? Right? So that's why it's a bad idea to tell us that. Now, and how is it let's peel it off and push it away. Okay. Peel it off and push it away. That's all about how is it actually untrue? Why should we not trust this thought? How does it manipulate and deceive us? And what would it take to change your mind? What are your thoughts?
Well, like you said, it's not quantifiable. So there isn't nobody has the same answer to this question.
Yeah.
So it will be very hard to evaluate something that doesn't have that same meaning. I feel like it deceives us too, because, based on emotion, circumstance, like this is an easily swayed answer. If you're feeling low self-esteem or whatever it is in your life, or maybe let's say you've got like negative feedback from someone and you're internalizing it, this could cause this answer to change. So it could deceive us in thinking, that we're not actually doing anything or enough based on someone else's standard or another experience.
Yeah, totally. So it's so subjective. It's a flawed statement, because
Right.
it's almost like a virus in a computer program, and it'll create a mind virus because it's just too flawed. Right.
Right.
We would have more strength if we were more specific, because it's too much of an
Right.
absolute generalization and exaggeration. And for that reason, it's not a reliable thought. Right. So, and that
Very
can
true.
deceive us. Now, let's get a better dance floor partner. So let's say you have a friend and they keep telling themselves, I'm not doing enough in life in general, blah, blah, blah. It's like, peel that off, right? You were doing all that you thought was good at the time, right?
Right.
What's the empowering truth? Let's wingman them. What is a better thought to tell themselves, right? Like, what would be something we could replace it with that's part of the empowering truth? What are your thoughts?
Like I'm doing the best that I can in this moment in time, like instead of saying like I'm not doing enough.
Yeah,
or
like
based on what I know.
I'm yeah, people are doing the best they can with what they know,
Right.
right? And they're not done yet. There's still more to do, there's more to learn, there's more to grow. We have high potential and we're not done yet. So
Even getting specific, like you said, like what area of your life do you feel like you're not doing enough? Because even just hearing the statement, I'm not doing enough, like it could apply to like any category, anything, like, I'm not doing enough chores, I'm not helping out enough, I'm not, making enough money or whatever it is. Like there's a lot to that category. So maybe there's a specific category in your life where you're like, okay, no, I'm actually like, I'm not contributing as much as I want to.
Yeah. So it's kind of a scarcity mentality. So we might say, I've already done so much in my life, and there's so much more I'm capable of doing. Isn't that exciting?
So yeah, definitely more empowering for sure.
Yeah, because it's acknowledging and honoring yourself for what you have done, Everything
Right.
you've done seemed like a good idea at the time. Even if intellectually you knew better, a part of you still thought it was a good idea, so you did it, right?
Right.
Like, so I've already done so much, and there's so much more I'm capable of doing. I'm not even done yet, right? It's just focusing on the abundance of what's possible. Why affirm limitation? Let's affirm potential.
I like that a lot.
Okay. So, in your own words, how would you simplify and articulate this new belief we're going to try to dance with?
In my own words.
Yeah. So you could repeat exactly what I said if those words resonated, or just modify or tweak it slightly. What do you think?
I really like your statement because it focuses on like capability and, like you said, potential, and also acknowledgement. So I like this statement. Like, there's so much in my life that I've done, and there's so much more I'm capable of doing and want to do, you know?
Yeah. I've already
Yeah,
done so much, and there's so much more I can do. Isn't that exciting?
that's it.
Why
Nice
don't
and
we dance with
simple.
that? That's a nice, wholesome dance partner. That's
And I
a
also think it also invites, you know, the fact that you acknowledge what you've done, but you also like want to do more, as opposed to thinking like, you know, like you said, like the fear mindset of I haven't done enough and I'm not going to acknowledge any of the other things that I've done, you know? So yeah, very encouraging.
yeah, and you could always put a different slant on this.
Right.
I've already done so much, and I've got so much more to give and share. That's kind of more love motivated, that we're living to give. So now I'm using love as a fuel. And love as a fuel is what gives us the best mileage, I believe. So
Mhm.
I'm essentially trying to take fear-based mottos for life that we have and fear-based mantras and substitute them with love-based mantras and words to live by, right? Because it's a
Love it.
better motivational fuel. And that was the benefit of this one dance floor creeper. So then we would say, okay, now let's dance it up, right? How can we strengthen this new attitude and live it more deeply? How can you assimilate it into the atoms of your being and live this truth and know it right into your bones so it's playing in the background of your mind? How can you really dance it up with this new thought so that the old thoughts don't come back and try to interrupt the dance? What are your thoughts?
I would say reminders, like even if you do like reflections in the morning or in the nighttime, it would be a really solid, like even at the top of the page, just like a reminder or something to reflect on.
Yeah. I like with stuff like this, I also like to oh, by the way, did you see the little picnic table?
He's been sitting down enjoying his meal the whole time.
Gotta put some of the anyway. Um I would say get momentum by repeating it to yourself while on a walk or a
Mm,
jog. Try to get thousands of reps in, because it's kind of like, you know how you have a song, you just start singing even though you haven't heard it in years. It's playing in your subconscious, right?
right.
So right now it's like we got this new dance partner, but the old creeper is going to try to come back in. And so we just really have to squeeze tight to our new dance partner, right? And really
Right.
commit to this way of living our life, to this outlook and attitude. And that I like to get some winning momentum by just practicing and repeating it. I like to go on a nature walk and I'll just like count on the three parts of the fingers, and I'll just keep going over and over and over, repeating
Oh,
whatever I
wow.
need to kind of like program in, because I find a nature walk isn't too intense that you can't repeat something. And then of course you'll see birds or animals, and then you kind of you lose the rhythm a bit because you're in the moment with whatever animal is there, and then you get back to it, right? And you just kind of,
Right.
and then you find these things playing in your head on automatic repeat, and that's when you've really made a beneficial shift. But it's all about discernment. So what we've done is we've carefully evaluated a couple different things. We said, you know, what is one of those thoughts that maybe we tell ourselves that kind of brings us down? Why is it a bad idea to dance with that thought? You know, why do we believe it to be true? And then, you know, how is it untrue? Like, how does this thought manipulate and deceive us? Or what would it take for us to change our mind? And then let's get a better dance partner. What's the empowering truth? And then let's dance it up. We need to really strengthen this one. So that's like the step-by-step process we're doing with dance floor creepers, right? And the thing is that people have many of them. So I get people to just write down all of them. Just listen to your thoughts like an outside observer, take a pen and paper and just like write them out. And we will take them all through this process of discernment, right? You need to pay attention to what you're dancing with. Always be on the watch for harmful attitudes and habits that are blocking your flow of energy. Don't dance with every lousy creeper on the dance floor that shows up and tries to attach itself to you. If a thought doesn't bring you inner peace, there's something wrong with that thought. Shoo it away, dance with something better, right?
Right.
And then, have dance floor rescuers that can call out the creepers and pull you away. Be like, hey, look, if I am confused and I'm dancing with a creeper thought, I need you to pull me in and rescue me just like you would on a dance floor if I'm dancing with that guy who has bad intentions or whatever, right? So we can be that for other people. So you want to go through another one?
Yeah, just another point to that, like even in terms of what you had mentioned, thoughts become our experience. I think, when we're dancing with that partner for a long time or whatever it is, then we start to search for those things that, for example, like what we talked about of not being good enough. It'll be very easy to find that in our day-to-day if that's where our primary focus is going into. So I can see why that would be like really important to kind of catch and then shoo away, because it can be very limiting, right? And discouraging.
Yeah. Now, any other creepers you can think of, let me know if there's any you can think of. Otherwise, I'll throw some ideas out there and we'll pick one.
Just something that comes to mind is kind of, even in terms of right now, I guess, social norms or trying to hit certain milestones that everyone else hits. So as silly as it sounds, it's like, sometimes we think we got to hit the milestone of like, okay, you have to go to school. And then after you go to school, you have to get like a full-time job. And then after you get a full-time job, you have to invest in a house. And, sometimes I guess the noise of other people's expectations and whatnot can kind of be running through our head.
Yeah. So
I don't know how
I would just say this is a variant on a very common one called I'm behind in life.
Yes.
We're telling ourselves I'm behind in life. I shouldn't be considering school at this point in my life. I should have it all figured out. I should be married, have a house, have kids. This isn't what I thought about when I was a 5-year-old girl. This is not the dream. This is the life I dreamed of.
Yes. And this one I hear a lot.
Yeah. For sure. So why is it a bad idea to think this thought that I'm behind in life? Why is that thought a bad idea?
Because I don't think it helps you carry forward. I actually think it kind of slows you down in some way. Not slows you down, but puts the brakes on you wanting to take action in any way.
Yeah, it stifles your drive. It permits you to be stagnant, right?
Yeah.
It can keep us in a depressing, sad, nihilistic thought process. You can develop a habit of just being self-deprecating. We don't want to do that, do we? Violet. This one's Violet.
Violet? Damn,
Violet
I can't get them.
Black point on the tail. You'll learn to tell them apart eventually. Right? They're both super friendly, right? So
yes,
this thought, prevents us from pushing forward. We just sit and accept our lot. I'm behind in life, right? Mm-hmm. We agonize over it. And we know all that this stuff does to our health. It stresses us out, which affects immunity, digestion, metabolism, sleep, makes us negative, which makes us fall further behind, ironically. If we
which is this way. Right.
We miss out on enjoying the moment and appreciating this unique season in life. And it can put a damper on relationships too, because, we're bringing, negative attitudes lead to negative relationships. Negative thoughts lead to negative relationships. That's something that most people don't consider. And relationships are one of the, foundational aspects of our life for support and joy and happiness. So it's like, we need to put a high standard on this and realize that this creeper is going to threaten a good relationship we have. Right.
Right.
So, anyway, what was I going to say? So, uh, what would it take to change your attitude about this? Like, how is it not even true?
It's similar to the other one in the sense of there's no report card at the end of life, you know?
Yeah. Also, you know, the way that we're measuring things, we might measure by our expectations for ourselves. We might say, well, I decided when I was younger, by this age, I wanted all this stuff figured out. Well, let's talk about how much you did not know about anything at that age. All right.
Right.
Like,
When are we
you were
creating
never
these?
in a qualified position. Like, you were taking your preferences for reality and deeming them your expectations for reality. And that was not appropriate. You were never in a position to know enough about life to say that you should have these milestones by this age. Then to compare is unfair, you know, because, you know, usually we compare our lives with other people on one small element, but human lives are much too complex. You might say, well, I should be like this other person who's got a big house and a big job, but guess what? They're in an abusive relationship. So, you know, do you want that too? Like, you're ahead of them in other dimensions, right? Like, it's just, we can't clearly see all the dimensions of a human life to be able to fairly compare. To compare is not fair, but we do it
Right.
anyways. So it's just a story we tell on a very limited frame of reference, right? So cost benefit analysis, it's probably not really benefiting us to say I'm behind in life. Unless you want a little bit of soothing sympathy from people, but you know, that's not good for us either, because then we get hooked on telling people this, you know, so it deepens us in this pattern, right? Then we get hooked on the highs we get off the enablers, you know? So, and it's not
Which
true.
dies off. It's only temporary, right? That little comfort or support.
It's not real love, it's obligation. Like, it's masquerading as love. It's not,
I know.
you know, because real love would correct. Love corrects, you know? Yeah. So how about this?
I like that.
How about we recognize how we're in the right place? Are you always doing something to better yourself? Yes or no?
Yes.
Then you're in the right place. Are you evolving? Yes or no?
Yes.
Then that's all that matters. Everything else is just details. Because really, the inner life, your consciousness, is real. The outward life, the material life, is just illusion. Jobs, status, all of this stuff just passes away like a dream bubble that bursts at the touch, the pinprick of a needle. Like, that stuff isn't even legit. Like, it's overrated on every level. But, you know, we fall into the drama, we get absorbed in the drama of Maya, or the persistent illusion of the phenomenal world. But really what matters is our consciousness and the journey of the evolution of our consciousness. So, you know,
awesome.
Change in consciousness is all that matters. You know, are you 33 yet? Or no, are you 36 yet? Are you 36?
No.
Okay. So I know of a 36-year-old that thought they were the biggest failure in the world. The biggest, or no, they didn't say the world, the biggest failure she knew. She didn't have her life figured out. She was single. She was a single mom. She had a kid that would misbehave. And she didn't have a realistic idea on how to move forward in life. So she thought, well, since I hit rock bottom, I have guilt-free permission to do whatever I want. So I'm going to write books about magic. That's what happened to J.K. Rowling before she published Harry Potter. She was a 36-year-old who was just lost, right? It doesn't matter where we are. It matters where we end up, and we're not done yet. It doesn't matter where you are in this moment as long as you're evolving. It just matters where you end up in the end. And it'll all be good in the end. And if it's not good, it's not the end. We're going to try to view this across all time and space, many incarnations. If it's not good, it's not the end. And that's all that matters, right? There was a quote by Asha Tyson. It was like, your journey has molded you for your greater good, and it was exactly what it needed to be. Don't think you've lost time. It took it. There's no shortcutting to life, right? It took each and every situation you encountered to bring you to the moment and to bring you to the now. And now, Violet, is right on time, isn't it? Magical racing stripes. All right.
So cool.
So anyway, let's dance with something better. Can we peel that one off that you're behind in life? Let's peel that one off. Creeper, yuck, get away.
Gone.
Yeah, yuck. All right, now let's find a real Prince Charming thought, that one that you deserve. Okay, let's find you that that proper thought. So what's the empowering truth?
I'm evolving forward in life.
Yeah, you could say you're an evolving soul. And as long as you're evolving, you're in the right place. You're exactly where you need to be. Whatever is going on right now in your life is exactly what needs to happen.
That's comforting. That's a comforting one.
Yeah, it just helps us to embrace and engage with what we're facing in our lives, right?
Right.
You know, where you could say I'm ahead where it matters most. Like I'm actually building my inner resources. Most people don't value that stuff. Everyone's living life outside in. They want everything right on the outside to get it right on the inside. If I just get my job and everyone gives me respect and I dress right and have the right body, then I'll get all these feelings I always wanted the whole time, like self-acceptance and all this stuff. And it doesn't work outside in. But when we're going inside out with wisdom, then the outside stuff becomes better. As Wayne Dyer says, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
Right.
Inside out, we eventually come to learn as we mature that inside out is the proper way to journey forward. We do all these detours trying to do it in the wrong way, right?
Yep.
So, you know,
very true.
You could just say, as long as I'm learning and growing, I'm in the right place in my journey. Right? And you can learn and grow in any place. Isn't that true?
Yes. I like that one too.
So, you know, like there's so many different ways that we could approach this on what matters most, right? Like, have you increased your wisdom and understanding in your life? Have you significantly changed? Can you look back at older versions of you and be like, I can't believe I used to act like that and think that way?
100%.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, you know, we are all pilgrims journeying from ignorance to understanding in all things. When it really matters, this whole business about getting ahead and everything else, it's just a matter of, are you moving forward? Are you dispensing your ignorance and gaining wisdom and understanding? Because that's the real journey we're on, all of us. It doesn't matter how much money you have and how much prestige if you are emotionally immature and spiritually like a 5-year-old, right? I would not trade places with somebody like that, right? So we need to remember what needs to be remembered and keep the main thing the main thing. All that matters is that we are progressing in our consciousness, that we're progressing on the inside, because when we leave this material realm playground, we got to give back all this stuff. Even the body vehicle has to be given back and all of our possessions and everything, but we take with us who we are. Like, let's not get distracted on all these other things. Let's value what matters most.
Nope.
Yeah. So anyway, we want to avoid bad influences at this point. You know, there's going to be a lot of people who are going to try to attach some creeper thoughts to you. They're going to say things, they're going to gossip, they're going to be negative. We need to avoid bad influences, and we need to remember to free yourself first. Get clingers off of you first, and then you'll be better able to help others, because everyone's always trying to think, oh, I need to fix so-and-so, or so-and-so does this. They always tell themselves that, and then they forget themselves. Get the clingers off of you first, and then you can help other people get the clingers off of them, right? This is how you build resilience. All right. Key takeaways?
Oh. I think that last point is the biggest one. Like, free yourself of the creepers. That kind of like haunt our thoughts.
You deserve happiness. Anyone watching this recording deserves happiness. This is a way. We got to peel away those thoughts that betray us. Discern which thoughts are beneficial and which are not. Take this seriously. This is the more meaningful work we can be doing in our human lives, right?